I was going to be here.
Is he here?
He is here.
Okay, well,
And he is also the sponsor of Bill 564. And him and his fellow sponsors on this are completely out of touch, trying to take away the rights of us and the rights of parents all over the state of Ohio to not have the choice for what's best for our own children. There's nothing more important than individual rights. Now, there are some that believe government knows better than the individual. I am not one of those people. I agree with you. I will absolutely oppose 564, and I will oppose anybody that supports 564, whether I'm elected or not. This is an issue that's big. We need to make sure that our legislators know that we are not going to stand for our rights being taken away. We are, as parents, and I got to tell you, I'm not against vaccines personally. My kids are vaccinated, but it was my choice, not because the government told me I had to do it. We have to maintain our own rights and our choices to be able to do this. Thank you very much. I'm Don Mann.
Well, thank you. First of all, I just want to mention that advocacy basically is the one choice. If you want to drink, that's your choice. If you want to eat GMO foods, that's your choice. If you want to vaccinate, that's your choice. If you don't want to vaccinate, that's your choice. And that's what we are about, particularly freedom that we have. You saw this. You've got to educate yourself on this. No matter what, you have to do that. Stephanie, is there any other announcements?
I just wanted to give Representative Boccieri a chance to say anything. Yeah, he's here. He's here. If you'd like to say anything.
Please come down.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank this young lady just introduced herself to me for bringing this film to Mahoning Valley and for us to have an opportunity to witness this and review this. Certainly after viewing a screening like this, there are a lot of questions that come up with respect to how we administer health care in the country, how we conduct these studies. I have 5 children. All of them have been vaccinated. All of them have received these scheduled tests. And I think that these bring up some compelling questions about whether or not that these studies have undue influence with respect to outside special interest groups. Now, my opponent wants to make a political statement about this. That's why he was here. He wanted to stand up and talk about this. But I was
invited 2 months ago, and I accepted the invitation then. I did not
Mr. Manning, you had
get an invitation and then not show up, and then only show up because my opponent was here. That's not what I did.
He actually did not have any clue that you were here. He was informed at our meeting. We just met with him before, just so you know.
So I know you want to make a political statement about this, but quite frankly, I don't think there should be political statements made about people's health. We need to do what's right. We need to do what's ethical, and we need to do it without undue influence from outside groups and with a sense of urgency. Certainly, there are a lot of questions with respect to what pharmaceutical industries and the tests that have been conducted. I serve with Congressman Bill Posey. He's an honorable guy.
He is.
He brings up a lot of great questions, and quite frankly, if there's nothing to hide, why are there not hearings on these bills? Why are there not hearings on the issues that Mr. Posey brings up with respect to why these tests were not conducted? I personally think, I'm a data-driven guy. I'm a pilot in the Air Force, and I need to see data. And I shared this with a couple of our constituents who came here and spoke to us at our open house in our office hours earlier with respect to the fact that the American pediatricians, who carry a lot of influence, are very well respected. I spoke with dozens of at least a half dozen in the last week about this particular issue, because I wanted to be educated and come in here to understand the point of view of what we're suggesting with respect to the vaccination. And the pediatrician, who is well respected in the Mahoning Valley, said that she has seen no studies that have linked autism to vaccinations. It's very interesting that some of this has come about, and obviously we have to have more studies and more questions answered, and that's why the bill in Columbus, with respect to how we promulgate data out to the communities, how we view vaccination rates, how we understand folks who are refusing this, who are not refusing this, those are data that need to be shared across counties in the state of Ohio and with respect to the federal government.
Yes, in the bill, though, that's not what's happening. The philosophical exemption's being removed, and
reasons of conscience.
Yes, that's a reason. That's basically you just deciding for your own reasons. Like maybe you think the government's corrupt, or maybe you've had a child with one reaction and you can't get a medical exemption for your other child, or you're not a religious person. you should have that right as a U.S. citizen.
So what the American pediatricians have said, and I asked that question specifically, the way you had suggested it, was they said that there is great risk not only to the child who's not being vaccinated, there's also a great risk to children who are being treated for things like leukemia, whose immune systems are compromised, who or children who haven't received a full schedule battery of vaccinations. Now, the gentleman, I think his name was Wakefield.
Yes, Andrew Wakefield.
He brought up some interesting discussion points. Why are we lumping these things together? Why are we not doing these individually? And I'll share this, waiving my HIPAA rights here by suggesting this and talking to you about this. But I'll tell you, I was in the military. We're vaccinated against everything from measles, mumps, and rubella to all kinds of diseases around the world, because we're flying across international lines. We're exposed to a lot of different things all over the world. When I received the anthrax shot, I had a terrible reaction to it. In fact, I had to go see the government, spent millions of dollars on me to train me to become an Air Force pilot. So they wanted to know what was causing it. So I went to see a rheumatoid specialist, waited 3 months to get in to see him. I ended up waiting 3 hours to see him in his office when I did get the appointment, and then went another 20 minutes into his office. I'm sitting there, and he comes in and he's like, well, I can't really explain why your knees are swelling up and you got these red streaks all over you because you took, I said, well, it's coincident with the fact that I just took the anthrax shot. And I said, they gave these things to us in a battery, in a series. They had 4 or 5 of these, terrible diseases that could kill somebody, kill animals, kill yourself. Were given all at once, and maybe it's just coincidental with that. With respect to the anthrax shot, there have been millions of farmers who've gotten this and haven't had any type of reaction. I had a reaction to it, so I wanted to find out why this was the case. And there was really no explanation given. He just said, you're getting older. I said, well, I could have made that diagnosis, not really the patient. But he suggested that you're getting older and these sorts of things happen. But he said something that was very interesting to me. He said that so oftentimes because it's not necessarily your immune system being compromised, it's overcompensating for being bombarded with, oftentimes these diseases that kill an individual in some respects. So, and he said what that can do is actually accelerate things that would have been hereditary down the line that you may not have gotten. You may be manifesting some of those things independently or earlier than you would have earlier. So those are the kinds of things that need to be studied. I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe to be. But, vaccinating children against diseases that could kill you, I had all my children vaccinated. So I have a lot more questions from this. And
just one question.
Go ahead.
Like, as a politician, do you believe that we have the absolute right to choose what gets injected in our bodies?
Yeah, I believe
because
that.
That's the question. Yeah, yes or no?
Okay, so certainly there is a
Yes.
Yes. You
Okay.
have a
then
right.
drop the bill.
You have a right to suggest.
No, we don't want more talk. Like, really, just take action. That's
Okay.
why we're here.
Yeah. Well, sharing data across state lines, sharing data across county lines, that's something that you would support?
If it was just data being shared, this bill has nothing to do with data being shared. If you want to investigate the difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated children, you should suggest a study on that. Or if you'd like, they already have on websites all across Ohio, you can find out what the vaccination rates are in every single community. That's been going on already for at least 2 years that I'm aware of.
Well,
you have
data,
that in.
Sharing data is extremely important.
Okay. You have what you
as
need to
can
know.
see the data, you
Okay.
said yourself you may not even trust the data that's coming out of the CDC right now.
We don't.
I fully support.
There's contradictory data in the CDC. Yes.
I fully support, having Congress take action to have independent studies being done with this. And there's
But we don't trust Congress.
Okay.
Okay? Like, bottom line, we want our rights. And why should you take those?
Yeah. In the meantime, don't force parents to vaccinate their children on time.
Hold on.
Hold on. Wait. One at a time.
Go ahead.
Listen, folks,
One at a time.
we're not going to get into a political argument here, and this is going to be banded here within a short order. So if you want to have a conversation, you step outside here and have a separate conversation, because right now this is not the intent here to get into this political discussion on it. All I want everybody to understand, you have rights. You can collect data in what you have now. There's no reason why you have to change what people have rights have right now to
Yes.
collect data. It's available. So let's not go to that route at all. That's all I want to tell you. The
Okay.
data's available.
So I'm here because my constituents asked me to come here, all right? I'll answer questions for you after this if you have questions that remain. But this is a discussion. You know, any piece of legislation that's introduced is a discussion. We have a debate, a dialogue, points, counterpoints are made. I can't tell you how many times I've been in committee hearings. I said this to our folks earlier, that I sat there and I'm like, I'm fully with this person. Then you hear the opposite side, like, I'm fully with that person now. And you have to come to some consensus and make a decision. Obviously, there are a lot of questions, and there still is a lot of questions that remain, you know, from legislation that has come out of Congress and how we collect data and how that data is shared with citizens who want to make an informed decision. We want to help you make an informed decision. I have 5 children. I wouldn't want to do something that would be harmful to them, and so I want to make sure that we share this data with
Well, let's share the data without having a law preventing the people to make a choice. You can't tell a parent, we want to give you data to give you informed consent, and then not allow us to use that informed consent and make a choice. That is what this bill is
I
doing.
want you to understand what the medical community is saying.
I'm not asking what the medical community is saying. I'm asking what our legislators are saying about our choice to our bodies.
Okay.
This bill does nothing to do anything with data.
We shared this earlier.
I know.
You had time to talk earlier with us. I'm talking to this gentleman right here to try to answer his question. One of the things that the medical
But you know what, I fully support what you just said. I don't want to hear
We all-
what
I think-
data says or the medical community, because they deny it all the time. But you know what, I want total decision making for my daughter. I don't want you to make that choice, and I don't want somebody who paid money to make that choice.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your insight.
Could you, I know I asked you, last question, I asked you earlier in the meeting, where did this bill come from?
We'll talk after. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say Representative Posey did introduce a bill into Congress for a vaccinated versus unvaccinated study, and it's not going anywhere because Congress. So there is something out there.
Go ahead, Doc.
Would you ask?
I've known John for a long time. We're getting soccer together, everything else. I will ask you to take the time and just do some research. Come up with an idea for yourself. I mean, we all get pushed around by different things, and I'm sure you get forced to go. Look at it, and then give us,
That's all you can expect from your legislator. I mean, I missed my child's, or my 2 daughters' soccer game. They're playing Lakeview tonight to come here because I thought this was really important. Not because my opponent was here.
Thank
I didn't
you.
even know you were coming here until I was.
He did not know. He didn't know.
Quick question for you. What does it take to get Congress to bring William Thompson before him? He keeps saying that, you know, we depose so many different people for ridiculous things. You know, why, who does it take? What committee, does it have to come from a committee? How does that process work?
Yeah, so the Government Oversight Committee has subpoena authority that they can subpoena a gentleman like that to come and testify before the committee. Jason Chapitz is the committee chairman right now. I've served with him too.
So who's holding it up? Who won't do it?
Well, here's what I think should happen. I think that members of Congress should sign what's called an intent letter. To sign an intent letter, and usually if you get a majority of the members of Congress, 218, to sign that, you know, oftentimes they can petition the House rules to actually make it happen. So, you know, having served in Congress, if I saw a movie like this, you know, I would probably sign on to that letter and say, let's have a discussion about it. Let's bring this person to the committee hearing, and let's see what was promulgated, what was discussed, and what wasn't.
So you have to compel your congressman to sign that.
That's right. I don't know if Congressman Bill Johnson has signed the letter as such.
I've been trying to get his here for a long time.
Yeah. I don't know.
That would never happen unless you compel.
At this point, would you encourage connections that you have to look at this information and consider the subpoena?
Well, I hope that we have a debate about this in Columbus so that our state legislators can compel members of Congress to at least take a look at this and see if there's some connection. Share data. Provide this information to citizens so they can make an informed decision. You know, and I mean, how many of you, raise your hand, how many of you trust your doctors when you walk in?
Well, that depends. Those of us with vaccine-injured children, we would definitely think twice and we would double-check.
I trust my holistic doctor.
I don't go to the
My wife.
I don't either.
That's a tough question in this room because you do have a lot of parents with vaccine-injured children. So,
They have the best interest in mind.
So can I ask you this
just
question? I just
real
have a
quick.
question I want to ask real quick. If you don't trust the government, you don't trust your doctor, who would you trust to do a study? Who?
independent researchers that are not affiliated with the
Who?
government.
Tell me who.
People that don't receive money. Yeah.
Anybody that's not. The pharmaceutical companies run their own studies.
Doc, do you expect to get paid when you see a patient? Absolutely.
No. The pharmaceutical companies run their own studies.
This is going to get us nowhere. Right now, we've got people with very strong opinions. And my suggestion is, you want to talk with Representative Boccieri, make an appointment with him, call him on the phone or whatever. If you want to talk to anyone, make that appointment. We're not going to settle anything tonight, that's for sure. But I can tell you one thing based upon what we've experienced in Columbus. Lobbyists have more influence than a private citizen, no matter what data you give them. And I've experienced in that, and I'll be glad to have that conversation with you outside the hall. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I